So happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let us know where you are joining from in the Q&A. And if you have any comments, questions, feedback during this entire session. And if you are in the US, hope you have adjusted to the spring forward time change. So let's begin. I'm Jaspreet Dhamija, a senior technical specialist focused on Copilot for M365. Over to you, Helen.
Awesome. Nice to meet everybody. I am Helen Guan, and I am also a peer of Jaspreet, a senior technical specialist as well. And welcome to the Copilot for M365 Starter Series. This is a series that will introduce you to workflows of how Copilot is used in different organizations, an AI-powered assistant, as you all know, that can help you with various tasks and scenarios in M365. In this series, you'll learn what it is, what it isn't. We'll demo some use cases, resources, and next steps, and an open Q&A. In today's agenda, we'll have a special guest. So today, Jaspreet and I will start with use cases for HR specifically and walk through how HR organizations are benefiting from Copilot for M365. All right, so this is our agenda, what it is, what it isn't. We'll demo some use cases. We'll hear from our special guest, Helen Bolter, and then we'll go over some resources and next steps before we open it up for the audience during our Q&A session. We have entered the age of copilots, and you'll start seeing that as we go through the different slides. So what is Copilot for HR? For HR professionals, Copilot is really a powerful tool that empowers everyone to work smarter, not harder, and achieve their end results with fewer resources. So a lot of our HR organizations are streamlining their recruitment, which we'll show in a demo, and also efficiently onboard people, creating documentation for onboarding, and more importantly, enhancing the employee engagement. Copilot can really analyze the employee feedback, the data, the insights, and really help tailor any training programs and boost productivity. And I'll hand it over to Jaspreet on what Copilot isn't.
Yes, thanks, Helen. So Copilot, it's as in the word says, it's not autopilot. So you are still in charge of the content that's generated. So make sure if you are writing an email using Copilot or crafting a document, at the end you are the owner of the content that's generated. Secondly, it's not giving you access to any of the files or content that you already don't have access to within your organization. So yes, Copilot can help you find content or files or anything easier, making it easier, but it doesn't gives you access to anything that you shouldn't have access to already. And thirdly, it's not your colleague, it's just an AI assistant. So it's, kind of a merger of human intelligence and AI intelligence coming together to help you be more productive. And on the next slide, so we already discussed what Copilot is or not in relevance to the HR, but here are some of the scenarios where how Copilot will affect the HR roles, such as the goals and challenges of what currently the HR profiles or roles are facing, and then how are some of the KPIs that Copilot can actually impact. So 3 KPIs here that we are talking about is cost per hire. So employees improve the hiring process overall, which Helen will show in a little bit, can actually decrease the cost per hire. Second is the employee turnover rate. So with Copilot, it can help you bring employee satisfaction with the great employee experience, reducing the stressful or boring, mundane everyday task or activities. And then third one is improving the onboarding time. So speed time to value of new employees because it's giving you access to information sooner and in an easier way. And In the next few slides, we have workflows of different use cases or scenarios of HR profiles, and I'll not drain through the slides. We have one here, which is internal job transitions and how you can use Copilot in different M365 applications for that. Next one we have is the hiring workflow, which Helen will showcase in a little bit. Another one is benefits and compensation. And again, all of these slides will be shared after this webinar, so you'll have access to them. And now we'll actually move to demonstrating how you can use Copilot for some of the HR workflows. Helen, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jaspreet. Okay, can everyone see my screen? We're going to walk through on how we can really accelerate the hiring process and creating job postings, offer letters, rejection letters, how Copilot will analyze different resumes that you have and scaling upon that. And then Copilot can draft interview questions for you and kind of help with preparation of your meeting. I'll run through on how Copilot helps in Teams and capturing your meeting notes. And then lastly, end with Outlook on how to draft an email to your candidate that you're hiring and also whom you're rejecting as well too. So I will start with a job posting, and after you have your meeting with maybe your PMO organization, and you want to be able to create a job posting after you've gathered all of your requirements, and you want to hire this new project manager or program manager. I'm going to ask Copilot to easily draft this for me to create a job posting with all of the requirements that I just talked about and gathered with my PMO org. And then in a few seconds, you'll be able to see what Copilot will generate. Everything's already all laid out. You'll see everything that I asked for, what the responsibilities are, what the duties are, any of the qualifications and requirements, skills and competencies that I was looking for. And more importantly, what about our culture and our company, some of the benefits that we provide, and how do you apply? You'll be able to see how Copilot can easily draft this up faster than any human being can. And this is essentially saving me the time that I could be really focused on reviewing the data and confirming, analyzing, and making sure that the data is correct. So you can see here, I'm maybe missing a few items that I wanted Copilot to add. I can keep it. Ask Copilot, include how to apply. And then you'll see it generate. So once I have this job posting all created, what do I do next? Well, all the I'm going to post it out and all the resumes are going to come in. So I'm going to be having all these resumes come in, and I want to be able to kind of analyze the data and be able to do a comparison of all of the resumes that do come in. So you'll be able to see here. And then once I have this all posted, I'm going to want to compare all the resumes that are coming in. So all the resumes come in and I paste all of the resumes that are in here. I can easily ask Copilot, can you compare the different resumes for me? And that'll kind of give me the highlights of what the difference is between John and Jane is. So I have John Doe that applied, and then I also have Jane Smith that applied as well too. So comparing these two resumes, who do I feel like is a better candidate? AI Copilot is not going to help me make that decision, but AI can help me streamline the decision process for me. So that way I don't have to read through line by line. I can have a summary of the two different resumes and how they differ. So this is highlighting all of the different points between Jane and John. And then lastly, what are the similarities between the two resumes? Or maybe what are the differences? So this can help me streamline my decision process. So now I've been reading the resumes, I feel like, okay, Jane may be a better candidate for this project program management position. I want to write her an offer letter. So you can see here that how Copilot is really analyzing the two. All right, so now it has some of the differences and similarities between them, and I still feel that Jane is a better candidate, so now I want to write her an offer letter. And how do I do that? I can easily ask Copilot to write an offer letter very quickly for me, so that way I am able to streamline that process. So I'm going to write an offer letter to Jane Smith, offering her the program manager role. I want to include the compensation package, any holidays that we have, a sign-on bonus, and how excited we are to extend this offer to her. And you see, with one sentence, I'm able to draft up a whole letter for Jane offering this position to her. And we have great benefits package that is listed out for me. I can customize it to whatever data that I am looking for. I can sign this. This has my signature for me. And then I just include that in, and I love it. So I'm going to keep it, and then I'm going to adjust any information or data in here. So John also applied too, but unfortunately we only have one open role available. So I'm going to write a rejection letter to John, thanking him for his application, but we'll keep his file on record for future roles. So I'll create that for Jane. So these are some ways that you can use Copilot with Word. So in addition to this, you'll also be prepping for your interviews as well before you offer these acceptance and rejection letters. And through your interview process, you can actually ask Copilot to draft up some interview questions. So that way you don't have to go searching what are those interview questions. So I can ask Copilot in M365 to help me draft some interview questions in order to help me prep for my interview. So I can easily ask Copilot here, help me draft up some interview questions I can for this project manager role, and so I can help interview. And then at the same time, after I have all these questions and I'm scheduling these interviews with Jane and John, I can easily just capture the meeting notes in Microsoft Teams with using Copilot, where it will have all of the highlights for me. It'll have all of the meeting notes for me to report back to the hiring manager. That way, instead of me focusing on scribing the meeting, I can actually have a productive conversation with Jane and John and be able to have an interview with my undivided attention. So lastly, I want to go over on how to use Outlook with Copilot. So I have all of these letters written already, and I want to have Outlook send these letters for me. I can easily ask Copilot to draft me up a letter or an email sending Jane her offer letter and how excited we are to have her on board. And then you can see here that I hope this email is written, see the attached offer letter, and we're very excited to have her. And at the same time, I can also have Copilot draft a rejection email as well to John that we are thanking him for his application. All right. As you're watching this and as you're considering and being excited for Copilot, think of all the questions that you may have for our Q&A session at the end of the series or the webinar, and we can go over some of those while I hand it off to Jaspreet.
Thanks, Helen. And I know there are a lot of Q&A in the chat on the site. So Helen, if you want to address those now, or we can get to it towards the end.
Sounds good.
And with that, I'll share another workflow for HR related profiles on how you can use Copilot for another scenarios. So hope everyone can see my screen. Now here in my daily life as an HR, I'm in my teams, just chatting away, working through my day, and then I want to go back and check my Outlook for emails. So I come in here. And, be it you are out on vacation or just out for a weekend, we always have emails waiting for us. So what if there was a way to get through, these emails quickly? So as I come through my inbox, I look at this HR policy handbook email. And then when I open it, I see there is a chain of email back and forth that's happening there. So I don't have to go through each of the email to read, but I can get the context by asking Copilot on the top here. So if I click on Summary by Copilot, it will actually scan through the emails and then give me the context on what's happening, who said what, if they were discussing any timings, and really quickly I can, get on top of what's happening in this email. So I initiated a project named HR Policy Handbook to present to leadership. And then Sonia suggested some ideas around it. I agreed. And then eventually, Sonia sent a meeting invite for Wednesday, 11 a.m. So just by these, clicking on Summary by Copilot, I can quickly catch up on what's going on with this project that I really want to be updated on. And as Helen demoed, like with every content generated by AI, you'll always see this label saying AI generated content may be incorrect. And you'll have an option of a thumbs up or a thumbs down. So that's where if you see any content is not correct, you can actually give a thumbs down to that. So this feedback directly goes to our product engineering team, and that really helps us improve the product. And if it is a good content generated, then you can give a thumbs up to it too. So if I just do a thumbs up, it will open a window where I can give some details or just say submit. Now, after getting through the summary, I want to actually get prepared more for this, presentation that's coming up with the leadership, and I want to see what Sonia has sent me for that. So I'll go ahead and open my M365 chat experience. I can open it through the browser by coming here to Copilot, or I can also access it through my Teams window by clicking on Copilot right here. So I'll just go through the browser experience. As I open it, you will see the different prompts that I can use. For example, what's the latest from this person, how I can write a particular request or proposal. And then on the right-hand side here, you'll actually see the different prompts that I've already used in the past. So it's giving me, what my recent chats within this experience have been, and if I want to reuse any of them. Now, with here, I'll just start with this prompt of what's the latest from Sonia Rees, organized by emails, chats, and files. And let's see what Copilot will give me. And we apologize for, the constant tone of people joining. I'm sure we muted it in our meeting options, but apparently it didn't. So apologize for that. But as you see here, you will see what's the latest from Sonia Rees, and now it's pulling up all the emails that she has sent me and who were the other people. And we were discussing about the policy, HR policy handbook and all the chats. There haven't been any recent chats apparently, and the files that were shared. So I can just simply copy it and put it in my notes if I want to. But you will also see there are these numbers that showcase the references to different either emails, chats, or files. And I can come down here, open the references to get to those documents or chats quickly. So I'm interested in this AI white paper that Sonia shared with me, and I'll click on it to just open and see, what it is about. And again, I can use Copilot and, ask it to summarize the document for me or ask any other questions. And I'll just see what's around in this documents to scroll through it. There are some images, content in here. And now I want to actually use this document to create a PowerPoint for our leadership that we want to present, that we have been discussing about. So I'll click on, a new PowerPoint to create a new PowerPoint, and then open Copilot in there. And I can create a new PowerPoint just from any topic that I want to, that I have in mind, or I can also create a PowerPoint from a present, existing file or document. So here I click on create presentation from file, and now it opens the recent documents that I have accessed. So, I just, it actually opened or gave me the option to open this Microsoft AI white paper, and I'll go and click create the presentation using this document. Now it will read through that, a long document that I don't have to, and actually pull in the data, the context that was in, images, and create the PowerPoint slides for me to just get started. And of course, as we said before, what Copilot isn't, it's not an autopilot. So we don't suggest that you create PowerPoint from Copilot and push it out there. But you do need to make sure the content that was generated on each slide or the images that it put in are appropriate, are correct. And, at last, you are the owner of the content that's generated by Copilot. Now, on the right-hand side here, as you are seeing, first of all, Copilot actually generates the outline for the presentation. So you know what it's working on. So you can see it will have the introduction, then table of contents, executive summary, and so on and so forth. And now, because it was a really big document, it's taking a little more time so it really depends. If it's a small document, it will be quicker versus if it's more content, longer document, and if there are bigger images to process, it will take a little bit of more time. But as Helen mentioned, it's still quicker than any of us as humans creating this PowerPoint from a Word document. And as you see here, it says it has drafted 29 slides in just a minute or less. And then it has included the speaker notes, added images, and layouts. And now, as you see here, it converted that document into this beautiful slides here. And it has also used the images that were there on that document. So I don't have to pull them again. Of course, I can come in here, ask Copilot to change any image that I don't like, or ask it to create a new or different image for any particular case, change the font, layout. Now in presentation, you can also use templates. So if you have any company template that you want to use to create a PowerPoint, you can open that template and then create a PowerPoint, ask it to create a presentation within that template. So once we have this, presentation out, now I can just easily go ahead and present it to my leadership, or again, as we say, make changes to it. And I'll again point out here on the right-hand side, any content that's created by AI, may be incorrect. So again, if you see there is anything wrong with it, so maybe I didn't like the context that it's created. In this example here, I'll do dislike or a thumbs down, as we say, and it will ask me for, what went wrong, content not correct. So again, I'm just giving this feedback to showcase you as an example. And if I want to share any prompt or generated responses, or I can do no as well, and then just click submit. So again, please do this if you're seeing any disparity in the content that's generated. Now, the last one in this workflow here is I wanted to show forms. So Copilot is available in forms as well. So again, as an HR, if you are creating surveys to ask people about their feedback or around employee experience, we can use Copilot in forms to do that. So I'll just use the example here of just using our Copilot licenses. So for example, your organization has recently piloting 300 Copilot M365 licenses, and the HR wants to know how are people experiencing it, or how is Copilot helping them decrease the amount of time it takes to complete the workload. And then I'll go click generate. Again, you can put in any topic and give it more context on what kind of survey you wanted to create. And as you see here, within seconds, it's pulling up questions and different kind of questions as well. So, enter with a long answer or just different formats. So what is your current role in the organization? How often? And really within seconds, it's created the survey. So again, you can keep it, regenerate it if you wanted to generate a different response, or discard it if you want, and again fine tune it just by adding more to the context that you wanted to create from. So with that, I'm done with my workflow. Hopefully you liked how we are using Copilot in this scenario and it's helpful. So next, I would like to introduce our special guest for today, Helen Potter. She's the senior HR business partner at Microsoft, and we are grateful for her to be joining her here today to share her experience around how Microsoft HR is using Copilot today and how they are saving. So thank you, Helen, for joining us today, and I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Jaspreet. Can you hear me okay? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. As Jaspreet mentioned, I work in HR as an HR leader at Microsoft, so I will keep things very high level. But I just wanted to talk about some ways that we're using, or I'm using, Copilot in my day-to-day. We shared a lot of examples around using Copilot in Microsoft Word, such as generating offer letters and looking through compliance documents and just summarizing a lot of the key points of very heavy material. One thing that I work a lot, or do a lot of in my role, is look at a lot of data. And whether it's employee sentiment data or other kinds of different data sets regarding people attributes, it's still a lot of data that we have to sift through. And we have other tools such as Power BI and Excel, kind of toggle between the two for cleaning data, mining data, and then of course visualizing it through our Power BI. And what we're experimenting with in Copilot is looking at trends in our people data. So we're able to use Copilot on top of Excel, and it's able to aggregate information for us in ways that visualizations can't necessarily do so in such a complicated way. So we're able to generate insights, so to speak, with Copilot by using it on top of Excel and in Power BI. Second, when we're in front of business leaders trying to tell a story around merging different data sets together. So for example, how are certain populations feeling about a certain item that we're asking about in our employee surveys? We're able to put together rote data, like the insights that we're able to produce from playing in Power BI and in Excel, and then pop it into PowerPoint. So Jaspreet kind of shared an example of how to make a presentation really good looking and aesthetically pleasing so that you don't have to play around with formatting so much. But what I love about using Copilot on top of PowerPoint is that it really helps structure the story in a way that the headline is there and then the supporting data is there, without having to spend hours on formatting or figuring out the right slide design. And it just really makes for a crisp presentation that is more memorable. And when time is of the essence, and there's so much coming at us, it's just such a beautiful way to use Copilot to help us tell a story that is memorable, especially from an accessibility standpoint. We all learn in different ways. Some of us are audio learners, some of us are visual learners, some of us prefer both, some of us are more experiential or physical learners. And to be able to have something that you can take away with when you have such dense data is really great. So love the time savings that we're able to have or achieve with Copilot in data analysis. And then the last thing I'll share, and I think this is common across any function or any kind of role, is the AI assisted or Copilot assisted ability to not only take meeting notes, but to summarize meetings in a way that summarizes them thematically and captures action items based on who's talking and whose names are said and so forth. It's super, super smart. So we're all able to listen in meetings in a different way. We don't necessarily need a note taker anymore, or, a designated note taker. That person who would be on point to take notes and summarize the meeting notes and kind of project manage things. Like 90% of the work is done with the transcript enabled in Copilot in meetings. So at the end of the meeting, you summarize the meeting using Copilot, and then whoever's responsible for sending out meeting notes can easily just look through the already summarized list of themes that were discussed, along with really precise action items, and just make a couple tweaks if needed, and then send that off to the audience. So those are just 3 specific ways in which I use Copilot in HR, and my team is also starting to use those things as well in different ways. And there's always going to be new ways that we can use Copilot. So in summary, it's assisting with data analysis. It's assisting with meeting note summaries and action items, so just really simple things. And then, of course, just putting together really crisp and succinct presentations with headlines that are just really meaningful and actionable and memorable. So I'll stop there. That's all I have today. And I think we have some Q&A. I don't know,
Yeah, we
if you
still have
wanna
a few
take
more
that
slides
up.
we'll go over. Thank you, Helen, so much for taking your time to be our guest speaker today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Helen, for sharing that. And I know we have a lot of Q&A in the chat. It's just bubbling up, but we'll go through these 1 or 2 slides of sharing resources in case people have to leave to make sure. And then I know some of the people mentioned in the Q&A here, they are having some audio issues. So we are recording this, and all of the content presented here will be shared out as well. So, you can watch the recording later and access the content as well. With that, so just wanted to tell you that, this is the beginning. This is the starter series that we started, and the first profile or use case that we presented here was the HR, but this is not the end. We have 7 more sessions coming up in this starter series, starting from today, March 11th, till April 29th, and we'll go through different scenarios or different profiles. So the next one is finance coming up in 2 weeks. And then, but we have other content or webinars out there for our other, kind of use cases around different profiles and also solutions. So tomorrow we have something around Windows 365 and Viva on transforming the onboarding scenario for, again, focused on HR profiles. So be sure to check it out. We have the link in there, and we'll share it out as well. And then for the starter series, again, you can sign up for all the sessions right now on the link there, or just get to it when you have time. So as next steps and resources, if you are interested in Copilot, don't have the license, or you have any questions, if you have currently a Copilot license, please reach out to your account teams respectively at Microsoft, and they should be able to, give you some guidance around it. Second one is, again, sign up for the upcoming webinars. We'll be sharing out the links as well. And then just, spread the word. If this is something that was useful for you as you are doing your day-to-day work, or started to use Copilot, please spread the word, share it out with your colleagues who can either join live or watch the recording later if it's beneficial. And then we have a few links here which are again specific to the HR scenarios, use cases. There was this article printed by our Microsoft HR team, just how Helen talked about her, use of Copilot. So this is something which is again a great resource to just go through. And then some of the second link here, using Copilot in human resources, it is a great scenario library. So it gives you the workflows and how you can use Copilot in different M365 applications. And on the next slide, we have a lot of resources for you. So again, this goes from general Copilot or general value of AI to specific to, what Copilot for M365 is, and user resources, adoption resources, scenarios, security, if you're concerned about data privacy, security around any of these solutions. Definitely, it's a big topic for us as well. So we have resources around it. I think on this slide, not to drain it, but on the left-hand side bottom, there is this M365 Copilot Lab. That's the only resource which is available to you only if you have a Copilot license, because you'll be able to access the different prompts. So I know there was a question in the chat here asking if we can share the different prompts we use during this demo. We can definitely do that, but definitely check out this Copilot Lab, where it shows you what are the different prompts you can use in Outlook or PowerPoint or Word, Excel, whatever app you are in, to make sure or to help you get started at least with Copilot. And I think that's all we have. And yeah, we'll jump into questions. So we already are seeing a lot of questions in the chat here. We have answered a few of them. There was a question around if we can do, create a PowerPoint without the file, but just giving it some context. Yes, we can. So if you can, you do create a presentation and just add whatever topic is in your mind, it will go ahead and fetch data and images on that topic that it can access, and create that PowerPoint for you to start with. Helen,
And
any
Jaspreet,
top questions?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
a lot of questions came up on where is the data being pulled from? Can you access where is it referenced? So the data is being pulled from a combination of your tenant and whatever you have access to as an individual logged in. So you'll be privy to whatever permissions you have. And then if your tenant does allow search that is outside of your tenant, so example, the World Wide Web, it's also grabbing data from there as well too. If you reference your chat, it'll show you where the source of data is coming from. But in my example, as you saw on the Word document, whatever the creation is, the output is, it will not provide you with the source. But when you chat with Copilot, it will provide you with a source, and you'll be able to see the references for that. So that came up. And then another question came up, how can you use your company template? I did provide a link as well on how you can use your organization's branding and templates to get that all set up so that Copilot can reference your own template.
Yeah, and there is a question around, for the hiring process, that what does Copilot do for applications that are not in the Microsoft stack? So yes, we have something called Copilot Studio, which is not part of this M365, but that's the extensibility. So you can actually use that solution or our Azure applications to actually build a graph connector that will connect into this Copilot for M365, and that's how you can use external applications on Microsoft. So again, we are not covering that today, but we are happy to share some resources around that.
And then some of you also asked if Copilot's only available in new Outlook. Copilot is only available in new Outlook, but some we are incorporating it into our classic Outlook as well too. So that's being rolled out. Jaspreet, did you see any other questions or anyone have any questions that you post?
Yeah, going through the list, there is so much
Yeah.
discussion. It's great.
So just now, does the data access from your permissions become part of the learning of the AI? Yes, correct. So the data that's being accessed, so whatever, it's surfacing up the data that you have permissions to. So if something is private and wasn't shared out to you, then it will not be surfaced for you to be able to search it. Are the photos, clip art, open source, free to use, or there are licensing concerns? So these are also surfacing information, photos from either your tenant or from your from the web, the World Wide Web. So you as the individual will still also have to validate to make sure that these are not copyrighted, but the pictures that are surfaced are not as of right now, but there is some validation that is needed to be done by the individual as well. Alternatively, you can also use AI to generate custom images as well too that are that does not have licensing concerns.
And Helen, there was a question around how many resumes can Copilot compare at a time? Do you know the
There's
number?
actually no limit to resumes that can be compared. So you can scale to however you want, however many you want. But with the analyzation, that does come with time. It does take a little bit more time. And also with the feedback, you are limited on what you're seeing on the screen. So you may want to break it up into batches so it's easier for you to process the data as well too. There's a question for when I asked it to create a PowerPoint, give me a few bullet points, had referenced a few links for resources. I was expecting a PowerPoint. So you can ask, in this case, you can ask Copilot to provide you with more details and more information. And as Jaspreet was saying, you can also provide it feedback as well too, that you would, it didn't give you the expectation that the outcomes you were expecting. But in order to generate more information, you can ask Copilot easily to include more data or what data you are seeing that is missing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
So
there is a
Pranati,
question here.
yeah.
There's a question here asking, can Copilot show from where it drafted those questions? From the internal or the internet. So yes, when I showed the content it's created, it always have those reference numbers. So it will show you where it's pulling that whatever content it has generated. So be it the external sites or internal documents or people. So it will always has those references there. And then there's another question, started using Copilot, and when it's asking a question, the data it returns is very limited. How can we get Copilot to be efficient? So as Helen mentioned before, so Copilot for M365 can only access your company data, your Microsoft tenant data. It cannot access any content from the web. Currently, it has basically Copilot for M365, the LLM that it was using was cut off from the internet somewhere in 2021. So that's the latest internet data that it would have. So if you ask Copilot something, any latest information on what happened in politics or some game yesterday, it won't have the right information because it has no context of the real live world out there. That's why you might be seeing limited content. And that's where we have Copilot for Bing Chat Enterprise, where it is connected to the web and you can get information, kind of more and real-time information if that's what your use case is.
And then there's a couple questions on if you can compare resumes without pasting it into a single document. And yes, you can actually, there's an option in Word where you can, or actually all of the Copilots, where you can reference documents. So you can easily ask Copilot to and reference the resumes that you are wanting to compare. For my example, it was easier for you all to see in one location. And then we do have another question. Does the internally accessed data get shared externally with other Copilot users? Worried about confidential information become available to others outside of the organization. We stress this over and over that your tenant is your data is your data. It does not leave your tenant at all. Microsoft does not use any of your data to train any of our models. All of the data are within inside each customer's tenant. And then we also have another question. An Outlook Copilot has a button for work or web. I assume that's how you determine what data is used for. It uses for its answers. Correct. That is correct. So you have the work and web option. If you want to switch over to work, it'll search data within your tenant. And then vice versa. When you switch it to web, it'll search information on the web.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I know there are some questions around where we shared some links or resources, and maybe not everyone is able to see that. So we'll make sure to go through the questions and share those resources in the deck that we'll share. So make sure to look into that for any of the resources that were discussed here.
And then someone, what else do we have? So we have a couple questions on the same thing on how do we ensure that the resume review function to ensure no bias is injected into the evaluation. That is a very great point to point out. So AI does not have any emotions. In this case, it's only surfacing up the data of the resumes of the individuals that I am comparing, and it's not ultimately helping me make a decision. The individual that is reviewing the data will have to make the decision themselves. And then we have a question that these sessions are great. Thank you for the feedback. Do you have them for Copilot Studio for MSPs as well?
Not currently that I know of, but again, we'll share more. We just started the series, so we'll add more and more topics. So again, thank you for your feedback, and if you join other sessions and if you have another feedback of what session would you like to see based on a particular solution or just a use case, definitely let us know, and we'll be open to adding that to that list.
For sure. Thank you for that feedback. We also have a question with like Excel, do you have the reference files as stored in OneDrive, SharePoint, and not your local hard drive to be accessible? That is correct. For all of the Copilots, it has to be stored within OneDrive or SharePoint in order to be referenced and surfaced. Awesome. Any more questions? Any more feedback?
And just to iterate again, this session is being recorded, so definitely go back to the link to the blog where you registered for the recording. It should be updated by today, end of the day, or maximum by tomorrow. And also the slides that we presented, any resource, we'll have that document attached with the recording for your reference. All right, I think, we don't have any more questions. Helen, any last comments?
No, thank you all for joining and listening in on the first of many webinars.
Yes, thank you everyone for joining us on your Monday, and hope you have a great week. Let us know again in your feedback if there are any other solutions, sessions, use cases you want us to cover, and we look forward to having you in our other sessions here. Thank you again and have a great day. Bye.